Excellencies, distinguished guests, youth leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all and welcome to this special event to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. My name is Soo-hyun Kim, Political Affairs Officer and Youthful Disarmament Lead in the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs. It is my great pleasure to have you join us today, despite the rain, but to plant the 2 saplings that survived atomic bombings of Hiroshima called Hibakujumoku. That will serve as an enduring symbol of peace and resilience for the people and planet. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency Philemon Yang, and also Eriko, Nihon Hidankyo's New York representative here with us today. Planting Hibakujumoku in UNHQ undertaking began a year ago with a conversation I had with Charlotte Jung, our youth champion for disarmament, whom flagged to me about the mission of Unitary Green Legacy Hiroshima to disseminate Hibakujumoku seedlings around the world. This one conversation became a seed to really kind of like come up with a humble call where my colleagues at the UN, Staff Recreation Council, Gardening Club, who responded overwhelmingly with their dedication and hard work. And I would like to acknowledge my colleagues Damon Shavers, Lisa Anderson, and also Michael Jenkins, as well as expert advice from Dr. Nasrin from Unitary Hiroshima, as well as Dr. Nori from San Diego Botanical Garden. Without their dedication, this would not have been possible. So I really want to thank you. In bringing together this ceremony, I came to reaffirm my belief in the idea of Juventus Spes Mundi, that youth are the hope, that the poem, and it's my sincere hope that the poems to be recited by young people today will inspire us to continue our work to turn swords into plowshares for peace and prosperity for the people and the planet. With that, it is my great pleasure to welcome Charlotte Jung, our youth champion for disarmament and a youth poet laureate, to read to us her poem, Germinate, that she wrote for this special occasion. Charlotte, please take it away.
Here lies shattered dreams among warped glass and boiled tiles, yet here a tree grows.
Thank you, Charlotte, for sharing your inspiring reflections. Now I have the great honor and a pleasure to invite Ms. Izumi Nakamitsu, the High Representative for Disarmament Affairs. Ms. Nakamitsu, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sue. And Your Excellency, Mr. President of the General Assembly, and Ambassador Yamazaki of Japan, and Ambassador Agiman, the chairperson of the 3rd prepcom of the MPG, and Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this morning with us. This is a very special occasion, and I would like to join Sue in thanking all these people who have taken the initiative to make this a possibility. I know that there were a lot of different pieces that you had to bring together. And here we are. We will be planting 2 persimmon trees that were born out of the seeds that survived atomic bombings in Hiroshima. And that is almost 80 years ago. Apparently, persimmon trees have a lifespan of between 50 and 75 years. So I hope that it will grow to become those big trees that will survive 75 years or even 80 years. And then many people will be able to enjoy the fruit of this tree, which is now a symbol of peace and, of course, resilience. It is very difficult to really imagine and understand what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki 80 years ago. But I think what we all need to remember is that we can make peace and build peace if we are together. And as you can imagine the United Nations is a place where people and countries come together and then work together to make that objectives a reality. So thank you very much. I would like to especially thank the young people who gathered here and be part of this ceremony and then made all these wonderful poems, because they will be looking after those trees and enjoying the fruit of peace. But in order for them to be able to do that, they have to work hard. And we at the United Nations would like to make sure that they have the space and the power to do that work. So thank you, especially to the young people of today. I would like to conclude by saying that we are dedicated at the United Nations to make sure that this 80th year commemoration will be an important momentum builder. We're not just to remember all these events, horrible events, but we need to make sure that this would be turned into an important occasion to build momentum, to reverse the current trend, rather unfortunate trend of arms building and tensions rising. But we need to reverse the trend, and then I am sure we can do that together here at the United Nations. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sue.
Thank you, Ms. Nakamitsu, for your inspiring words. And although the weather is wet today, I know that this kind of climate is the best for the trees that's being planted. And so I just wanted to have you bear with the weather a little bit more. So I appreciate your patience. So now I would like to invite our youth. George Paget, and he's with the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs, and he will recite a poem called Until, which is one of the winning pieces of UN ODA's Poetry for Peace contest. So please hear his poem, which was a kind of like a response to, after listening to Hibakusha testimonies, atomic bomb survivors' testimonies, in the form of a verse. So over to you, George.
Time paused, a moment imploded, the shuddering tremor, rippled in dramatic light. Silence came with pain, fallen boughs, new sown seeds, growth blemished in bark, reaching skyward with gentle leaves. The tree had not forgotten, yet learned from its birth never to touch that light or feel that moment again.
Thank you, George, for sharing those moving words. And now I have the honor to invite His Excellency Ambassador Kazuyuki Yamazaki, Permanent Representative of Japan to the United Nations, to share his remarks. Excellency, you have the floor, sir.
His Excellency Mr. Philemon Yang, President of the 27th session of the United General Assembly, and Ambassador Harold Ajman, Permanent Representative of Ghana, and Her Excellency Ms. Izumi Nakamitsu, UN High Representative for Disarmament Affairs. And also I would like to pay particular respect to those young representatives in presence here. Ladies and gentlemen, this year marks the 80th year since the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As the only country to have suffered atomic bombings during war, Japan bears the responsibility to lead the global efforts toward a world without nuclear weapons. Conveying the realities of nuclear weapons use to the world is starting point for all endeavors toward nuclear disarmament. Japan has been working across generations and borders, collaborating with Hibakusha as well as young leaders. In this regard, it is very meaningful that Nihon Hidankyo was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year. We are also partnering with the United Nations on various initiatives, including the Youth Leader Fund for a world without nuclear weapons. I was encouraged Today's tree planting ceremony was made possible through the voluntary efforts of UN staff. I hope as these saplings grow, so too will our aspirations for peace spread and become a reality. At the ongoing NPT prepcom, Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi spoke at the general debate last week and called on state parties to, quote, cherish and exercise the spirit of dialogue and collaboration, unquote. I sincerely hope the Hibakujumoku, today we will plant, or atomic bomb survivor trees planted here will stand as a symbol of this spirit. In closing, let me express my heartfelt gratitude to the dedication of UN staff and everyone involved in this great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Yamazaki. And let this Hibakujumoku to serve as a symbol for us to really work towards to save the succeeding generations from the scourge of war. I really thank you for your remarks. And now I'd like to turn to Excellency Harold Ajiman, who is the permanent representative of Ghana to the United Nations and the chair of the third NPT PrepCom. Ambassador Ajiman, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. President of the 79th session of the General Assembly, permanent representative of Japan to the United Nations, High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, Excellencies, UN staff colleagues, and young representatives gathered here. I'm also honored to join in this tree planting ceremony to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the founding of this organization, but also the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in my capacity as the chair of the third session of the Preparatory Committee for the 2026 NPT Review Conference. This ceremony for me represents a very solemn occasion, a moment for reflection over the motivation for the establishment of the United Nations and how well we are doing in the present circumstances on the implementation of our purposes and the principles that fashion the organization. As we all know, the core purpose of the United Nations is the cause of global peace and stability, which we all strive for through different tools that exist for maintaining international peace and security, promoting development and assuring human rights and dignity of all peoples. Today, more than ever, however, many around the world are worried about the persistence and scale of conflicts, including the deepening poverty and underdevelopment and the deterioration of the well-being and dignity of many around the world. More is therefore required of us in addressing these concerns and meeting the expectations of the peoples of the world as we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. The disarmament agenda and the need to prevent the catastrophic effects of a nuclear war cannot be left out of such an effort. As chair of the third PrepCom of the NPT, I'll do my best with the support of state parties in that endeavor. As we commemorate this occasion also, I recall my visit to Japan last November, where I met with one of the living witnesses to the atomic bombings, Mr. Chuki Shohei. And in his words, he said, we must get rid of all the nuclear weapons in the world so that no one would be hurt. May the tree that we plant here today be a symbol of our united resolve and determined aspiration to make the United Nations the pillar of hope for the needs of the peoples of the world during our times. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Agiman, for taking your time out from the presiding over the third NPT PrepCom and for joining us today and also sharing your remarks. And now I would like to invite Ms. Junko Shimizu, a dear friend and colleague from Unitara Hiroshima, to deliver some remarks on behalf of Green Legacy Hiroshima, as well as San Diego Botanical Garden, which has partnered with us to bring the Hibakujumoku to the UN headquarters. Junko, you have the floor.
Excellency, distinguished guests, and then ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to speak on behalf of the Green Legacy Hiroshima community in Japan and in over 40 countries around the world. In 2011, two women in Hiroshima, Nasrin Azumi, the first head of UNIDAL Hiroshima office, and Tomoko Watanabe, the director of Hiroshima, decided to spread the seeds and the message of these survivor trees with the world. They called their initiative Green Legacy Hiroshima, with the support of many others who were inspired by the concept. What began as a local idea soon became a global campaign. Ever since, it has been our dream to plant the survivor trees at UN headquarters, the symbolic place of hope, sending an unwavering message of peace to the world. The seeds for these particular saplings were collected by Green Legacy team under the guidance of Master Gardener Mr. Horiguchi. They were carefully stored at Hiroshima Botanical Garden and later sent to our regional hub at the San Diego Botanic Garden. Earlier this year, they prepared 2 of the saplings for the journey to New York, wrapping them in bamboo for protection. Since their arrival, the team at UN headquarters has cared for them with great dedication. And now, thanks to all of these efforts, we are here today, planting a living symbol of hope and a resilience for future generations. Tomoko often says that Abam trees speak to us with silent voice. And Nasrin reminds us Green Legacy Hiroshima is a 1,000-year initiative, something only possible when people come together as a community. And thank you very much for you all today for being a part of that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Junko-san, for sharing the journey of this Hibakujumoku and the fact that how it started back in 2011 by a small group of young, women. And I just want to share that Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So thank you for sharing those inspiring remarks. And now the last speaker today would be a youth from UNODA. Her name is Alexandra Zubenko, and she will recite the poem Oleander. Alexander, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction to Oleander by Grace Lawrence. From Chugoku to the Ota, nothing remained. Upon the debris-strewn red earth. In the silence that came with time, shoots with elliptic leaves to 5 bright petals. A vivid signal that survival is the future, that through resilience we find a peace, and learn that for no other reason it should ever happen again.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing those beautiful words and how it really resonates with us that the nuclear war should never be fought and cannot be won. And now I would like to go to the next part of the ceremony, which is to plant the Hibakujumoku in a ceremonial way. So I would like to invite the speakers as well as the President of the General Assembly to gather around Hibakujumoku. We have 2 here, and so please make 2 small circles and around. And my colleague Sana and also Jajit will come with a bucket and a shovel so you can ceremonially put some soil on the Hibakujumoku. Thank you very much. And of course, no event is complete without a family photo. So I would like to invite also the CD ambassadors of Japan and Germany, Ambassador Gerber and Ambassador Ichikawa, to please join the speakers for a family photo around the Hibakujumoku. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining today's event. And I wish you all a very good week ahead. Thank you. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much.